Yo, what is up guys, Stelboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So there's a monster in the 154-pound division. Bakhram Murtazaliev stops Tszyu in just 3 rounds. It was an assault, a beating, a beatdown, destruction. Add any word, add any superlative. Dominant from Bakhram Murtazaliev. And, you know, he surprised me in there. I did a prediction for this fight, and I said in my prediction, the guy does a lot right. The guy's got a lot of ability. The guy has power, obviously. And there's been signs in his previous fights where he's had moments of real quality. But for me, from what I've seen of Bakhram prior to this fight, he'd never really put it all together. And quite frankly, I wasn't convinced he was a fighter who could put it all together to win this sort of fight. So yeah, I picked Tszyu. I felt that Bakhram would have his moments, but ultimately I felt Bakhram would get knocked out. It wasn't him who got knocked out, it was old Timmy boy. Have to say as well, I want to shout out the referee. I'm not sure who it was, never seen the guy before. But he let this fight go. He let Tszyu have every opportunity available to keep fighting. Not to the point to where it was like a hometown referee or like a biased referee. That's how a fight should be refereed. You know, let a guy fight on. Let a guy keep getting back up. Give him a real chance. This is boxing. And I felt the referee did a good job of not stopping the fight too early. Not injecting himself into the scrap. He let it come to a natural conclusion. So big up to the referee. First round, both guys, you know, came out throwing their jabs. Bakhram was much more active with the jab, however, and immediately he was looking for the straight right hand behind the jab. Tszyu was using his guard, as was Bakhram. But for me, Bakhram was landing more shots. He was throwing more shots. In the first round, both guys were kind of mirroring each other in terms of style. Again, guard, 1-2 sort of thing, you know. But Bakhram was just a lot more active. And I felt early on, like almost immediately, I felt that the power differential was real. It seemed like Bakhram's punches had a lot more weight on them. At least that's how it looked to me. And also, the size difference was quite apparent. So yeah, right from the very early stages of this fight, I realised that Tim could be in for a tough one here. Both guys set their stall early on, and for me it felt like Bakhram, just by looking at it, it seemed like it suited Bakhram more. Both guys were sort of trading right hands, taking risks, etc. And yeah, I felt that favoured Bakhram. And round 2, go to show that. Tim came out pretty aggressive in round 2. There was a head clash. Tszyu then kind of checked his head to see whether he was cut like he was against Sebastian Fundora. Tim actually started round 2 pretty well, but he tried to fire away and he was caught with like a real sort of sneaky check left by Bakhram. It drops Tszyu. Good knockdown by Bakhram. Beats the count though, continues to fight. But you can tell he's not on steady legs. Bakhram smells blood. He fires for 1-2, for 1-2-1. And this is what I was talking about in my prediction. Things like throwing the 1-2-1, the pull counter right hand. That was now starting to come into play from Bakhram. He drops Tszyu again. Jab, right hand, which don't really connect that well, but he ends the combination on a power jab, similar to how Kovalev used to do with that 1-2-1, and it drops Tszyu again. Tszyu's down, beats the count again, still unsteady legs. Bakhram follows up. Tim's trying to fight for his life. He's not trying to hold, he's not trying to maul, he's trying to fire back. But again, unsteady legs. Up close, Bakhram lands like a short sort of left hand, I think it was, and it drops Tim again. 3 knockdowns in round 2. Referee allows it to continue, giving Tszyu every chance. They get back to the corners. Round 2's over. Doctor checks Tszyu to make sure he's okay. He's allowed to continue. But, you know, instead of being circumspect in round 3, which, you know, in hindsight, Tszyu should have done, he continued to hold his feet. He continued to try and counter Bakhram with his left hook and his overhand right. Actually did land a couple of shots, but you could tell that the momentum was so with Bakhram, it wasn't going to halt him. Bakhram hurts Tszyu again. He drops him with another left hand. Tszyu once again beats the count, but he's on unsteady legs. But referee allows him to continue, and Tszyu, to his credit, showed heart. Instead of trying to hold, he throws back, he tries to fire back, but he's getting caught, he's still wobbly, he can barely stand. And the towel then finally comes in from the corner. And yeah, domination by Bakhram Murtazaliev. Domination, the jab, the 1-2, the 1-2-1, the disguised left hands, the left hooks from Bakhram. Every time he countered Tszyu could feel it, man. And he was not only setting a high pace, but he was also, like I said, he was countering. He wasn't just spamming punches. He was countering very effectively, taking advantage over, of Tszyu's defensive vulnerabilities. And, bro, is that the best coming out performance of 2024? I think so. One of the best performances in general of 2024. Well, there's a monster in the super welterweight division. Where does Bakhram Murtazaliev go next? Get him in Saudi. Terence Crawford. Great fight. Love to see it. The Madrimov Boachuk winner would be amazing. Sebastian Fundora. Great fight. There's a lot of fights for him at 154, Bakhram, and he's announced himself as a real contender. Well, he's a champion, right? IBF champion, so yeah, a great performance, man. As for Tszyu, massive setback. This wasn't the Fundora fight where, you know, it was kind of bizarre circumstances that resulted in the loss. This wasn't that. This was a beatdown. This was one-sided. This was destruction. That's going to be a lot harder to come back from. I'm not saying Tim should retire or anything like that, by the way, but now he needs a rebuild of some description. He needs a rebuild. He needs a couple of fights to try and get back and see where he's at. You know, try and change things up a little bit and come back to world level. But yeah, that was a devastating defeat. That was a devastating defeat. And, you know, these Chechens and Dagestanis, these guys are not to be messed with, you know? They're not to be messed with. In terms of, like, just a concentrated area of fighters, I don't think there's a better region than Chechnya and Dagestan when it comes to fighters, when it comes to making fighters, whether it be MMA or boxing. It's mainly MMA, but yeah, crazy talent coming from that part of the world when it comes to fighting. But yeah, share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy, peace.